Just waiting for the stream to go on. Let's have a cup of tea first. Hello, coders. I think the stream is live. The lights are going in the right direction. That's always good. Let's put that tea over there. So today we're going to further on the FreeCodeCamp project that I'm building. It's a project that we're going to be, I'm going to be using to teach object-oriented programming on FreeCodeCamp using PHP. It was decided via a Twitter poll and a YouTube poll that the application that I should be building or would be building is an invoicing application, and that is what we're slowly building out. Before we do any of that, though, we are building a framework for that invoicing application to go on, because I've taken it upon myself to not include any frameworks apart from the testing frameworks such as Codeception, PHP Stan, and so forth. Not actually frameworks, just utilities, I guess. So we're testing our code as we work. And last week, where we left off, we created the acceptance, or we updated and we fixed the acceptance tests. So I can run those like so, and that'll run. So we have 40 tests. I think 5 of those are acceptance and the rest are all unit tests. There should really be more than this, but you know, it is what it is. And I'm not going full on, this isn't like a whole new framework, the new hot framework certainly isn't. It's not going to be a replacement for anything like Symfony, Laravel, or anything like that. This is just going to be used to get this application working. And so what we ended up with is a series of pages that we can click through based on the routing that we've supplied in app config routing. So what I would like to do today, there's 2 things really. The first thing I would like to do is handle the 404s, because at the moment this is just throwing a white screen of doom. With the error code of 404, this is coming in in the kernel here. If I go to helper and then kernel, I believe it's in the boot. This is the static function that we created yesterday, which is the public static boot function. And what it's doing is it's throwing a 404 like so. And I think in index, what's happening in public index.php, this is in a try catch. And if the error code is a 404, then we redirect, or we change the headers to be 404, but that pushes a 404 HTTP error code, sure, but it doesn't actually display anything nice on the page. And what I can do is just demonstrate that. If I go over to the sorry, I haven't got my browser set up yet. So if I go over to the browser here, we can see that we have home pages and invoices, and I can click through these 2, which is fine. But if I was to land on something that doesn't exist, so let's say if I was to change this to be blah, 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 we're just going to get a white screen of doom. We have actually thrown a 404, fine. And I think if I go over to the code here, if I go to here and then click on that button, if I go to the container, so if I go docker, whoops, not in there, in here, if I go docker ps-a, we can see the containers. Don't worry about MySQL being down, that's fine. The one we want to care about today is this one here. So in fact, we could probably do this easier by going through Docker Compose. So let's have a look. What did I call the service? The service is just web. So I could do Docker Compose, and we're going to do an exec into web going in as bash. Okay, so we're in the container, and if I could tail out the access log, so tail -f var logs, and it's Apache 2, that's the server that we're using, and it's just access log like so. Hopefully Nope, nothing's coming in the access logs. That's a bit interesting. I wonder if it's because I haven't actually set the logging in the vHost. That might be something else we do today. Okay, let's see if there's any logs against the actual container. Let's exit out of this. That's not going to be helpful. I assume there would be. Okay, so let's do Docker compose logs of web. Okay, so there we go. So we have an access to ASD blah 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 blah. That's returning a HTTP 404. So at least we have that log. We don't have the logs in the vHost. If I have a look in Apache conf blah blah blah, we are setting the access logs. That's interesting. I'll have to have a look at that after the stream, I think, as to why the access logs aren't actually being put in there. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is define the error document. We could either do that through htaccess in here, or we could do this in the virtual host. I like doing things in the virtual host myself, because then you're configuring it from the level of the server rather than the level of the code, and I think you can then overwrite it through the level of the code. So there's that I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. It is early in the morning, so that's the first thing we want to do. We want to do an error document, although the confidence levels have dropped slightly as the error log isn't working. The next thing I want to do is deal with parameterization. So the parameters are in the routing. So in config routing, we're saying that here, this route here, we've got invoice, and then we have this regular expression that we need to check across. I want to set that as a parameter. This is obviously going to be the invoice of the ID. So I need to supply that into the request method, which we have defined in HTTP request. I would like to have a property in here called parameters of an array, and they would match up to the matches that we've matched in the locate method, which is down here, root match. So locate calls root match. Root match does a match of the roots using the preg regular expression, checking the pattern and so forth, and then setting matches to be the matches. But we're not doing anything with that, and that's what I would like, because essentially what I would like to end up with, it probably won't happen today because I can foresee a bunch of issues, but what I would like to have is when we get to the controller and we go to say the home controller here, I would like to pass in, let's do the invoice because that's better. I would like to pass in the request method, and the request method would have get parameter or get parameters that I could supply like so. So then I could actually put back to the front end, to the web page, I could actually print out the ID that I've actually passed in through the URL. There's a lot of steps involved in this. I need to sanitize the user input and so forth. But hopefully we'll scratch that surface today. But first of all, let's just deal with the error log. Not the error log, sorry, the error document. So to do that, you go into the conf in here, and we just supply error document. Let's just bring that out, make a bit of room. Okay, so we're going to do error document. And I believe we set the type of the error, which is 404, and then we need to pass in the path of the error, the page. So in this case, it's 404. In fact, what I'm going to do before I even do this, sorry, I apologize, is I'm going to write an acceptance test just to make sure that we have something that does test that this works. So I'm going to do acceptance tests and then not found page test. So here we've got this not found thing, and if I ran this as a group, so if I did run acceptance -g page Not found. Have I not spelt acceptance right? Nope. Hang on. No. I haven't. Of course I haven't. Okay, so that's going to run this test here, and it's going to pass, right? But what I would like to do is I would like to have on the page, so I do IC, or I can see, there we go, page not found. So if I run this, it should fail because this is mimicking that white screen that I just demonstrated when we get to that failure. So that's the failing test. So we need to push this to a page, a 404.html with the text page not found. So I guess the first thing I'm going to do is just build that out. So let's do, I'll worry about the vHost in just a second. Let's just build the page first. So in public, we're going to just create a new file. It's just going to be a simple, I shouldn't say simple, it never is. It's going to be a 404.html page, and that's fine. And we're just going to have, in the body here, we're just going to have a paragraph tag, and we're just going to say, what did I put in the acceptance test? Is it page not found? Let's just make sure I've got everything correct. Copy that, go into here, and then bung that in like so. Okay, I can also do the same for the title as well. Okay, let's save that. I'm also going to add that title as an acceptance test too, just for you know, belt and braces. So I can see, and then I can do I can. Is it C in title or something? There's something to do with title. Can see in title. Again, page not found. So we're checking for those things, as well as checking that we're on the page and it has an error code of 404. So let's just run this. Yeah, so here we have two failures. Why have we got two? Is it just because I've got two? Yeah, we have two things here. Yeah, so we can't see the page not found on the page, and we can't find page not found in the title because the title tag wasn't actually supplied because we just have that white screen of doom. Okay, so that's set up. That's good. Also, let me just double check. Let's go to the browser, and I just want to type in 404.html. Does that actually work? So, oops, sorry, go to browser. Yeah, that does actually work. So the going to the 404 page directly works, which is an issue in some cases because we only want to put people there if there is an error, but let's not worry about that at this stage. Okay, let's now build out the mechanism to do that, to hopefully fix this issue. So it's error, and then it's document, and then it's 404, and we're going to run it against the Apache document root because remember that goes to the public, so we can do / and then 404.html. Now this isn't going to work straight away because we need to put this back into the container. So we're going to just I'm just going to quickly do a down and then an up. It's a bit sort of breaking a nut to using a sledgehammer to break a nut. I appreciate. But we're just going to run that. Marvelous. Let's just quickly run a test. No, that hasn't worked. I didn't think it would. Let me just double check if that is the right way of supplying that. Let me just bear with me just a mo. Error document 404. Some people have used the IP and then gone directly into there. I could have actually not used the document root because it is in the document root. I could have just done this. So let's just run that because the document root has been already defined. So let's just save this. And then I'm going to this is all a bit trial and error at the moment. Let me just put that back into the container. I don't think I need to do a down. I can just do an up because I'll just rebuild it. I don't need to have build. That's fine. So that's now FreeCodeCamp is now up to date. Let's just do that. Belt and braces down and then up. I just don't trust. I don't trust it. Nope, that's still not working. Okay, let's try the HTTP access rather than the vHost. There's obviously something wrong with the vHost. Whoops, because the logging doesn't work anyway. Maybe I need to do all of this within the directory rather than the virtual host itself. But we can work on that later. So let's just put this in the HT access. Where is that? Where is the HT access file? There we go. So I'm going to just bung it in here. Why did you not put that on my... There we go. Copy that. Save that. Go down to the HT access file. Paste that in. There we go. Okay, save. It's still not working. It's still refusing to do anything. Nope, that's still not firing through. Okay, it might be to do with the regex, perhaps. It could be to do with the rewrite. We could put in the actual path itself. We could use an external path, or what we could do is we could put in the we could actually put in some custom text. That's probably the safest thing, rather than actually putting it to a file. Let's try that. So we could actually do quotes, and then we could grab page not found and put it within here. This is probably but no, it's still not coming through. Do I need to do anything with the containers? Let's just double check. Nope. That is really odd. That is bizarre. I've spelt error document right, I think. It's all one word in sort of semi-camel case. That is correct. It's a 404, and we're going to page not found. So okay. Another thing we're going to do then is we're going to just take an eye on the logs and see what's going on. Logs web. So it is returning a 404. We can also tail the logs, which is pretty useful. So that's going to tail the logs. So if I hit the refresh button here, that should now spit up another one. So that's going to blah, 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 which can't be found. That's that's going to 404 page, or 404 status code, but it still isn't going to that document. So it's either like the HT access file isn't actually being read or read in the right order. Just having a look at the old Apache docs. So 404. It says custom error documents are configured with the error document directive. which may be used in global virtual host or directory contexts. It may be used in htaccess files if allow override is set to file info. Okay, that might be why. Okay, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. Okay, I'm just going to grab an example here, and this needs to be in the vHost directive. So this goes up to here, and I'm just going to copy some code in. That needs to be the document root. Whoops, save in here. So we're going to allow override, require all granted. We don't need to do any of this, follow symlinks, but let's just keep it as is. Let's just kill this for a minute. I'm going to put actually what I'll do is I'll take this out, boom, and I'll put this in here, back in here, and I'm going to put this in it did say directory level, so I'm going to put this in the directory level. Too many tabs, there we go. And then I'm just going to do a down and an up, or an up and a down, whatever. And then I'm going to tell those logs again. Okay, that's interesting. Command. Okay, let's just make sure that the web it's still running. So yep, that's still coming through. We've still got a 404 though, but we're not actually getting any responses back, which is very frustrating. It's still a 404. Good. Why can't things just work? It would be so much easier if they did. Too many tabs. Too many tabs open. Okay, we need to do an Apache restart, but that would have been done when the containers were dropped and then brought back to life. We could do an Apache check config and all of that jazz. Okay, this is sort of like moving into different territories, isn't it? I either make a decision now and continue down this path, or we have a look at the parameters. Let's give it till 8 a.m. So about 6 minutes. If I can't get this working in 6 minutes, we'll move on to something else. So let's just have a slurp of my tea for a bit more caffeine. Okay, 6 minutes starting now. So we've got all of this stuff in play. It's returning a 404, but it's not actually handling the error. We know that there is a problem anyway with the logging files. So in my opinion, there is a problem with the way in which we've set up the virtual host. So let's go and just double check right from the start. Let's go. Oh, this is kind of, come on, PHP Storm. I've got 6 minutes to go and you're not allowing me to do that. Let me bring that back. Damn it. How do I restore that window? It was tool windows project. There we go. Okay, good. So it is document.compose. What we're doing here is we're passing in the vHost, which is in Apache Conf, which is up here, Apache Conf 000 defaults. So 3 zeros and a default.conf. Yeah, that's correct. That is going into this here, etc Apache sites available 00 default. So I'm just going to grab that and copy that line. I'm going to just jump into the container, and then I'm just going to cat that out, make sure that can't do that. etc, can't copy that into the thing. Apache 2 sites available available 00 conf. This is what we've got. So this is what it looks like on the actual in the container, which looks exactly the same as this one. So that's fine. Virtual host on port 80. Not sure about the crazy tabbing going on here. Directory root. Okay, so we know that that's in play, and we can also do a tail -f of the var log Apache 2 access log is empty. Okay, so there is a command that you can do. I think it's Apache something to do with this. I think it's ctl. There's a graceful config check, config test. There we go. Config test. Okay, so this is going through the config, and we're saying that the syntax is okay. So there's nothing wrong with that config, which is annoying. It's saying that I need to set the server name directive to globally suppress a message. So I could do that, I suppose, just to check. So let's do server name. So we do invoice test or something. Hit save. Exit. Do a down. Do an up. Dive right back into bash. Run the config test, which is Apache ctl config test. So that's interesting. Server name still hasn't been. So even though it's saying the syntax is okay, it's not picking up the change to the server name, which is peculiar. So it's almost like this isn't actually testing that file. Let's just cat that out again. etc Apache 2 sites available 00 blah blah blah, and I've set the server name here. So there's something fishy going on here. Let's do a print env. So we have I'm looking for Apache document root, which is fine. So that's been set. I'm wondering if it's just not even running this config. I'm wondering if it's running a different config. cd var. Let's have a little exploration. I know it's 8 o'clock now, but a PHP storm was causing me some jips. So var, it's not var, is it? It's etc. Whoops. Apache 2 ls. Apache 2 conf. Sites available. What is in cat? Apache 2 conf. So yep, sites enabled gets added. Maybe I've put them in the wrong one. Maybe instead of available, I should have put them in enabled. That might be why. And if so, I highly apologize. Include virtual host configurations, and this is sites available. I've put this in sites enabled. I've put this in sites available. Okay, we've gone over time by about a minute, so let me just rush this change through, and if this works, then I'll continue down this rabbit hole. Okay, let's have a look. Where are we putting this? This is 00 default, this needs to go into enabled rather than available. Save that, come out of this, exit, and then do a down and an up just to bring everything back to the start. Then let's jump into the container. Then let's do the Apache conf test, Apache CLT jobby config test. Still saying that server name hasn't been set. Can we do a tail -f of var log Apache 2 access logs, and I'm just going to hit refresh on one of those random pages. Nothing's come through. So we're still none the wiser. But the website still works. So it's definitely something to do with that the config, right? Because it's now in cat etc Apache 2 sites enabled. All right, so I've now bunged it in here. It used to be in sites available. So what is in sites available at the moment? If I can spell that right. So it's now, for some reason, in both of them. Which is fine. Okay, I'm going to take this offline because we're now 3 minutes past. I didn't get that fixed in time. There's obviously something wrong with the configuration here. I'll deal with that, and then I'll probably fix it offline and then explain how I fixed it when the time comes. But that is pretty gutting, actually. I wanted that to come through, which is a pain. Yeah. I'm wondering actually if it's something to do with the fact that we're using the 7.2 Apache, and I'm wondering if I need to do something in the Docker file to adjust that, to adjust Apache somehow. Either either do something else here where I'm actually passing it through, or having something else. Yeah, I'll need to think. I need to think through this, I think, and compare it to other applications that I've built where I know that I can actually change the virtual host. There's obviously something not working. I'm going to leave that acceptance test failing as a way of a reminder that has failed. But because we've only got a few more minutes, I want to push on and work through the parameters. And I don't even think I'm going to get the parameters finished today, which is annoying. But what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to get a start on it. What I would like to achieve is the end game is whenever you put in a parameter in a URL, so say invoice / and the ID of the invoice to map to this particular route here, I would like to somehow get that ID and put it into the action of that controller. So there's a couple of steps that I need to take. What I'm going to do today, though, is I'm just going to build some tests first to test that out. So the first test I'm going to write is, well, I could write an acceptance test to test that. I guess I could do that. So let's do tests and then acceptance tests. Invoice page test. What I would like to do is where we have invoice 123, I would also like this. I can see this is an invoice with the ID, of 123, right? That's what I want to put through. I want to pass in the ID and spit it out to the page. Obviously, if I run this test, let's just add the group for this. So this is invoice get by ID. Whoops. So if I ran that test, so let's come out of the container and go run. Change that to this. Whoa, no. Nope, I'm not actually putting this invoice get by ID. Okay, so that's going to fail. So that's our failing acceptance test. But that's essentially where I want to get to. So that's fine. Okay, so let's code this out. So in src, in helper, in HTTP, in requests, we would like to have a parameter that holds an array of a property within this class that holds the HTTP parameters. Yeah. So I want to have a way of setting those parameters. I want to have a way of adding a parameter to the parameters. So let's go back to the unit tests first and code that through. So in tests, in unit, in helper, in HTTP, in request tests, we're going to create a new test. Let's just bring that down to here. We're going to have, let's do add parameter, test add parameter, and what I would like to do, add parameter. I would like to have a key and a value. So the key being that the ID of that. So we're going to have say ID, and then we're going to have parameter of 1, 2, 3, right? And then what we need to do is we need to have a method called getParameter, and we're going to pass in the key, which is ID, which is a string, like so. We could just call this add and get, but let's or we could create a new class of parameters and then inject that into the request. But for now, let's just keep this as simplistic as possible. So that should come back with 1, 2, 3, and because we are using assert same, it's also going to check the data type of that too. Let's hit save. Let's run the unit test. This should fail. So let's come out of the acceptance. Unit. That should run, and we should have one failure, which is this. So let's go and build that out. First of all, actually, before I do this, let's go up to the default tests. We also want to assert that we have an empty parameters. And we also want to check that parameters is an array. So assert array. Or is array? I can't remember. Yeah, is array. So that will fail on that too, which it is. So we have two failures here. The first one being that we have a call to undefined add parameter, because I haven't done that yet. Then we have get parameter, haven't done that too. And there should have been another one, default test. Why did that not come up as get parameters? Sorry. Yeah, get parameters. Okay, so let's go and build that out. So let's do requests, bring that down. Let's build this through. So we have a private parameters, which is just an array, and we'll set that as an array. We should also, I'm just thinking, we should also test the setting of these things. So at the moment we're just adding a single parameter. We also need to set the parameters as well. So set parameters with an S, and this will take set parameters. This will take an array of parameters where we would have the first one being ID, and that would be 1, 2, 3. And so what we could do down here is we could do, whoa, thank you, Magic Mouse. We can do assert in, is it in array? No, assert array has key. There we go. Has key of ID. And that is get parameters. Okay, so that should be another failing another failing test. Sorry, my Magic Mouse is, I think it's on its way out. I think this is telling me I need to charge it. And we're also going to make sure that we have, oh, that needs to be a string. Yeah, okay, we'll leave it like that for now. Let's just run those tests. We should have another failing test. Yeah, we do, because we don't have set parameters. Okay, so like I've done before, let's just bring this out, go straight to the top here, go onto there, bring this back. So like I think I've done it somewhere in another class where I had a set and an add. A set will set all of them, an add will add one of them, and the set method will call the add for each one. So that's kind of where my head is at. So let's just come down here and use the magic PHP Storm getters and setters. We're going to do fluent setters and so forth. That's all good. So we have the get parameters here, which returns an array. We have set parameters and so forth, which is all good. We're also going to create a new one. We're going to call this public add parameter. Parameter, can't spell that this morning. We're going to have a key, which is a string, and we're going to have key, and we're going to have a value, which is going to be mixed. Public function. Come on, I need more tea. I need more caffeine. Public function. There we go. And this is obviously going to return request. So this, that goes down there. This goes on here. That goes request, and yep, ready to create that comment. That's all good. So what we're going to do is just this parameters, passing in the key, passing in the value. Okay, whoops, save. So when we're doing set parameters, we can do for each parameters as key, value. And the reason why, well, I'll tell you why I'm doing this in a minute. So for each blah blah blah, then we do this add parameter, passing in the key and passing in the value. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is because we want to eventually get to a point where we're sanitizing all of this input. And we'll be doing this probably in the add parameter section. So set parameters will loop through each one of these parameters and then set, and then call the add parameter, which then does the sanitization. Perhaps, potentially, that's kind of where I was going with that. So let's hit save. Let's run those unit tests and see if anything is broken. We have one broken thing here. What's going on here? Because we have called an undefined method get parameter. Yeah. Okay, so we have get parameters. Yep, scroll. I'm going to take a slurp of the tea. verging on cold. So grab this. So we have get parameter. So let's just get the parameter based on the key, which is the whoopsie. No, that's going to be mixed. We don't need the value. That's not going to be returned. And we're going to do an if is set this parameters passing in the key. So if it is set, do that. We're also going to put in another one called default. I'm going to worry about that in just a second because I need to write a test for that. My head's going too fast for my fingers to type. So this parameter's key, and so if it is set, then we're going to do value is equal to null. If I can spell it. We're going to set the value if it is set to the key, to the parameters, so is u. Then what we're going to do is we're going to return the value. Okay, so we're going to run those tests, see if they pass, and hopefully they will. They will. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set where we got get parameter. We're also going to allow for a default value. Default value will be mixed. So let me just create a quick test for that. Scroll down, scroll. Go into here, bring that back out. Okay, so where we've got set parameters, we're calling get parameters. That will get all of the parameters. Add parameter will do that. So, okay, I need to create a new test. I'm just going to copy that. A new test where it is get default parameter. Get default parameter. And we're not going to add a parameter at all, but we're going to get a parameter and we're going to expect, let's change this up, let's do 3, 4, 5, based on the ID, passing in 3, 4, 5 as the default. So this is going to fail because we haven't actually set the defaults up. So we're going to hit save, going to run this, and it will fail on its face, which it does, which is all good. Because it's failed asserting that null is identical to 345, because we're requiring 345, we're saying that is the default ID, that is expected. We're using same, so we're checking the data type, but as you noticed in the request object itself, we're actually just returning null if it can't be found. So we need to put in here a parameter, at param. This is going to be mixed because it could be anything. This is going to be the default. And we're going to set this default as null. So, or null. And as I mentioned the other week or day, I like to have my nulls this side as a rebel. Default is equal to null. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to set the value to therefore be the default. Let's run this test again, see if this works. It does. Let's just make sure that we've got another test in here just to make sure that null is actually returned for belt and braces. So let's do that. Test null, get null parameter. There we go, get null parameter. So that should now assert null, where we're running ID, but we haven't set null. That should return null. And it is. Okay, cool. So we've added another 9 tests. We've got about 10 odd minutes to go. Let's grab some, this time, squash. Okay, so at least this is working. If anyone has watched this and knows the problem I'm getting with this this damn virtual host, and please let me know. I'll commit all of this code as soon as I finish the stream, so you can ponder over it and maybe even put in a pull request. It's a bit gutting that isn't working, but I got a feeling it's one of those things that I'm just going to bash my head against a brick wall for a good sort of half an hour, and I don't think that's productive at the moment. I'd rather get things testing and working. So, okay, let's continue down this rabbit hole, which is the parameterization. So we've got the ability now of adding parameters to the requests. That's pretty good. And what we need now is a means of returning the request to the controller, to the method. So to the action, I should even say, to the action. And then what we'll do is we'll wire up from both sides, so from the request side and from the root side, and then we'll do the locator bit in the middle to add those. So what I'm thinking is in the index, where is the index page? Public HTML. So we're doing kernel boot, get the roots, and then we're requiring that particular root that returns the actual view. So within the boot itself, we get the request, passing that through. We have the locator. We get the controller. We do a new instance of the controller name, and then we run this get action. So it's at this point we want to inject the request object. That's what we want to do. So I'm going to just push this into here. It's at this point we want to put that in. Now this is going to throw a wobbly at the moment because that isn't actually a requirement. So this is get action. So this is get action. So what I need to do is it actually in the controllers. So in here, let's do home. Let's do home for now. We want to pass in the request. Because then at this point I can then do request get parameter ID, right? And then I can do ID is equal to blah blah blah, and then pass it in as a parameter to the particular view. So there's still a whole manner of stages to do that yet, but let's put all of these into all of the actions. So we're gonna just set everything up, set the stage up. So I say all of the actions, just two of them. Okay, that's good. I want to just quickly run all my acceptance tests. I know that there is one that is failing. Acceptance. So we have 3 that fails. Okay, why is that? So we've got the not found job, that's fine. That's another not found job, that's also good. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, this is checking whether or not the invoice is 1, 2, 3. So that's fine. So the invoices that do work, which I think are, sorry, the acceptance tests that do work, which are 2, which I need to up my game on. That's fine. That's proving that those pages can actually be, where are we up here? So invoice page and home page, these are the 2 ones that mean anything at the moment. So that's good. Okay, so we now have injected the request into the controller. Now we need to actually wire up the actual mechanism of doing that. So this is the tricky thing. This is the trickiest part of this, I think, because in locator, I think it is based upon those matches here. And I need to somehow supply the matches to this. Now we're returning the found root. Okay, we're returning the root that's been found, and I really don't want to put the matches to the found root. I just want to double check. I'm just going to do a quick var dump. I would usually use xdebug and some debugging here, but we don't have that set up on the container at the moment, unfortunately. So I'm just going to do a var dump of matches just to see what is actually being thrown out. Let's just kill that, and then I'm going to just hit invoice 1, 2, 3. No, that isn't actually the thing that's being returned. That's a shame. Okay, so I might have to think about that. I just did a quick check to make sure that matches was something. Preg match. So that's saying that that example is proving here that print r matches is returning matches. They've got a preg offset capture, which is, and then you've also set 3. I'm not too sure what that means. Here we go. If this flag is passed, for every occurring match, the appendant string offset will also be returned. Note that this changes the value of matches into an array where every element is an array consisting of the matched string at offset 0 and its string offset into the subject at offset. Wow, that's worded really, really well. So, okay, let's try that. Why not? No, that's not doing anything here. Subject matches flags. Flags and then offset. So matches that's offset capture. What did I set? I can't remember what I just set that to. Yeah, that is offset capture. But matches still isn't coming back with anything. Oh, that's tricky. That's a bit frustrating. I was hoping that those matches would be based upon the groups. No. I'm just getting an empty array rather than anything useful. That scuppered my plans. If matches is provided, then it is fulfilled with the results of the search. Matches, the first index, will contain text that match the full pattern. Matches 1 will have the text that match the first captured parentheses, subpattern, and so on. That is what I was relying upon. Because in app config routing, this would be the subpattern in my opinion. Parentheses subpattern. That is what I was trying to pull out. And I wanted that to be on like index 1 or something. But at the moment, var dump matches is just returning an empty string. Oh, hang on. Which is a shame. Oh, hang on a minute. Ah, dear. This is such a schoolboy error. Such a schoolboy error. This is within a loop, isn't it? Root match is within a loop. Oh, I do apologize. Yes, it's in a loop, and therefore it's stopping on the first one. Right. So the var dump isn't going to make any difference whether it's out or if the first one isn't matched, then it's just going to fail and return that. Okay, let's hit 0. Let's put it in within the check. So once the check is returned, what a moron. So let's go back to here. Let's do invoice / invoice. Come on, invoice. 1, 2, 3. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. If I ever showed you the stuff in the right page, you could see that we're on invoice 1, 2, 3, as you can see up there. And it's this in here. 1 is 1, 2, 3. So that is the ID that we actually supplied, which I'm super chuffed with. Let me just run this a little bit, use a print R rather than a var dump, because print R outputs it a little bit nicer. We don't necessarily need to worry about the data types at this point, so if we do print R, we're just going to put in a pre as well, just to format the page. Sorry, so that's what I've just done. So print and then print R. So let's go back to the browser, refresh this, and we've got... so the first one is the actual path that was passed. The second one is the actual ID. So I could hack this up a little bit. This is, I think there is another path called edit, and I think we can do 3, 4, 5. And there we go. So we have the first instance would be the ID of the invoice. The second one would be the ID of the invoice item that we're editing, maybe. I don't know. But that's the magic. I'm just going to check out what offset was. Let me just, because I'm interested now as to what that offset was going to do. So we go back to that flag. There we go. Copy that. Go back into the locator and run this preg offset, and then go back to the browser and refresh the page. Where are we? Browser, that's the button. Okay, so that just gives us an offset. I'm not overly worried about that at all. So yeah, we don't need to worry about that, I don't think. That's no biggie. I just wanted to experiment. Excellent. Okay, so we now have matches. Yay, we now can actually pass the matches through. Probably we're going to do this... we might even do this as an array. So the first element would be the found root. The second element would be an array of matches. And then, so that returns an array that I would give back to the found root, perhaps. So we would return an array of the root that was found plus the parameters. I don't think I need to put the parameters on the root, because on the root class, that would just get messy. And code duplication, I don't think I need to worry too much about that. But anyway, that is all good. I think what I'm going to do is just comment this out. Whoops, that wasn't a comment, that was a clear. I'm just going to comment this out, and I'm just going to... Magic Mouse, stop it. And I'm just going to have a to-do, just to remind me, to-do return matches as well as found root. As well as found root. Okay. Let's just tidy this up a little bit. Okay. So that's where we're at. That's good. So that in the next stream, I will hopefully have the virtual host sorted with the error log, and I will be continuing on with this. So yeah, I'm pretty chuffed with the progress. We have only got 39 tests running. I had hoped to get that as a nice around 40, but hey ho. Not today. But yeah, this is looking good. This is looking good. Now, it's Friday today, which means that there is a podcast. Every Friday I do a podcast. That today we have, let me go to the browser. Today is, we're going to be talking to Stefan, and we're going to be talking about how he got into web development industry, how he learnt programming through where he was working currently. He was working at a... he's working for his... I won't give too much away, but he's working for his... It was a family business. It wasn't web development, but he was using coding to make his job a lot easier. So we've got that going out today. So that will be later on this afternoon, this evening. So do check that out. He's got a very inspirational story of how he started learning to code through his current day job as not a coder, and I found that absolutely fascinating to listen to. Yeah, he's a great chap. Interviewed him a few weeks back, and yeah, it was such an inspirational sort of take on how he got into web development and how he started building systems in his current role in his job that he's working for in his family business, to solve problems and to make his job easier. And then he got to a point where he had learned enough to then, do some interviews, and he's now a web developer. So, hats off to him. But yeah, that's going to be on the podcast today. So that's howtocodewell.fm. Do check that out, and also check out all the other podcasts we've got. I'll just go back to the homepage here. We've had all sorts of fantastic guests on. We've had all sorts of people talking about lots of different aspects of web development and programming, how they got into coding as well. So do check that out, howtocodewell.fm. The new podcast will be out later on today. But anyway, guys and girls, thank you ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everyone. Have a good Friday. This will go out to YouTube probably over the weekend. So the podcast will be there when you get this far. But thanks ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everyone. I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye.